What's up, y'all? This is Matthew from The Rim Review. The Rim Review is a page that offers in depth player analysis and gives nuance to the way that you watch basketball. In this series, we're going to be going over every single prospect in the upcoming 2026 NBA draft. And in today's episode, we're going to be looking at my current number one overall prospect, Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson is a freak athlete, and it can be shown through both his offense and defensive game. Addressing his strengths, as I just posed, he truly is a freak athlete, especially around the rim, gets consistent highlight plays, but he can contribute more than just simply that. He's also a really elite post-scoring big and has just incredible quick instincts that can really be contributed on every single time he gets a touch in the paint. He was in the 92nd percentile in the post, and it shows a great reason why when watching his post possessions. And then kind of aligned with that, he's just a ridiculous mid-range scorer. He shot 47% on non-paint twos, which is up with some of the best. And to top that, he's a freshman and has an incredibly high release point, so it's almost impossible to guard his mid-range shot. Lastly, a little thing, but I love to see it in pick and roll. He's just a really strong and physical screener despite his slimmer frame. And so if he, can add some more muscle, I think he'll be incredibly dangerous on the offensive end. I do have to mention a few weaknesses as always. One small thing I do note, it happens a lot to him, unfortunately, is that he'll lose his footing at times and then he's a little bit out of control. But obviously, a little teaching can fix that. And then also, sometimes he'll settle and he'll use his physicality, but then will settle for a questionable shot. But that obviously is a counterpoint to the fact that if you're a good mid-range shooter, sometimes you'll take some questionable shots. And then finally, not a great three-point shooter, shot 27% overall. I will say, optimistically, he shot 36% on spot-ups. However, you do have to obviously note that is on low volume. So I talked about how he's a freak athlete, and we'll just go simply one of the first games in the year against Michigan State, and he consistently gets these incredible, highlight plays, freak athlete, posterizer, gather step. It's just so incredible to see his ability to just create around the rim. If he gets a rebound, he can go coast to coast. However, I will note, don't love this decision. I think he really is strong despite his slimmer build. And so you can simply go off two. You don't have to go off one. You don't have to settle for a questionable shot. Just be patient around the rim, around the restricted area, and good things will come for a guy that's just so, talented. So although, this is kind of a similar clip to the one before, but much better. Again, coast to coast as we see, and then he picks it up around the right elbow, gather step above his head. And although it's not off two, this is, how his height can be kind of played when he's scoring around the rim. I'll include one simple clip, again, highlight freak athlete type play, but he's got a really good nose for offensive rebounds, and obviously that athleticism allows him to get athletic putbacks on a consistent level. Going into post scoring, as I said, I think he truly is an elite post scorer. And it's ridiculous because he's a guy that is 6'10", 215 pounds. So he still has a lot, more muscle, capabilities if he, does continue to bulk up. And so the fact that he's able to do stuff like this on truly one of the best defenders in the ACC averaged, I think, 2 or 3 blocks a game. His, ability to get into that drop step, physical, and then great touch, stays low, and, defender bites. He's got the just great quick instincts. We see right here against Georgetown, obviously, it's a shorter guy. And he's got good instincts against the double. Obviously doesn't finish this, but I will say good instincts where he reads the double. A lot of teams had to double both Caleb Wilson and Vassar, both really, really talented big men. And so he's got good instincts, although a little bit of a bad shot selection, 10 seconds left. I think if he read, maybe he needs to work a little bit on, reading the double, passing it to Jaren Stevenson, and then guys are going to have to rotate, and then there's going to be, a wide open man, maybe if Derek Dixon pulls. But I like the ability that he has sometimes some good quick instincts, I will, say. Sealing, good seal right here against, I believe that's Donnie Freeman, if I am correct. And, this is just really, really simple. They try to get the ball to him right here. Donnie Freeman is obviously fighting Caleb Wilson. So it's just a simple pass it to Vassar, get a different post-entry, perspective angle, and then they're able to get a little high-low action. And then what I love at the end of this ability is right as the catch, he has a quick rise where goes off to quick rise, really, really impressive, continued athleticism. I really don't see this type of athleticism with anybody whatsoever. Even when it's not a seal, even when it's a simple post up. Again, he reads, even this guy is really shading him to try to go middle. Caleb Wilson still has that ability to just nudge him off and quick spin, loves that quick spin, and then that rise up, as I said, similar to that Syracuse example. Against Ohio State, I don't love the initial, shot attempt, but is able to make it up because of that athleticism, fighting to, grab a rebound. We see right here they're doing a simple stack action, 2 guys at the elbows, 1 screens for the other. Caleb Wilson gets a post catch in the high post, and as I've said, great instincts and something really, really impressive in his game. I watched a ton of UNC this year, and watching Caleb Wilson, he loves this quick spin. And although, as I've said, a little bit off balance, he loses his footing frequently, but still able to fight, try to get a rebound, and then get a little putback. Really, really impressive to see, and a continued fight consistently every single offensive possession. I said he was a good mid-range shooter, and we'll see it right here. Post scoring, clears out. There was a couple examples I saw, like 4 or 5, where they give Caleb Wilson, the ability to score in isolation, and so he's going to wave off Derek Dixon and clear him out. So it's going to be an empty side, isolation, and again, we see the amount of pull they have. They have 4 defenders, on the left side of the court. And so Caleb Wilson is able to Barkley clear out, Barkley get into some post action, and then that's just a kill spot for him. He's going to hit that pretty much every single possession. One last post possession I will address, and this is just the beautiful part of his game. He loves that fade away shot, and he'll hit it at a consistent level because of that high release. We'll see right here. It's going to be against a double, but it's a late double, and you can't really stop him with that, with this high release point. So we're going to go in slow motion. They try to double him, but again, high release point. This big man, I think he's like 6'10" probably. He still can't, contest him. It's just almost unguardable. It's ridiculous, and something I truly can't see in any other prospect in this entire draft. Let's now go to another part of Caleb Wilson's game, which is pick and roll. I'll be up front, he really wasn't used a ton because they had a guy like Henry Vassar, but he's able to make, pretty solid reads in pick and roll, and then, catch a short roll and get to his mid-range jumper. We'll see right here, they've got some diamond action, kind of floppy, whatever you might want to call it. And so they're setting an exit screen and then step up screen for Caleb Wilson, and sets a really, really hard screen. And what I love about this is this defender guarding Seth Trimble is going to be really caught off guard after the DHO by Kion Evans. And so this allows for a really solid step up screen where he's going to pretty much, murder, the guy guarding Seth Trimble. And then he's able to push off, get a catch at the nail, and then that spin, he loves it, fade away, kill spot, whatever you want to call it. It's just, impossible to guard consistently. Again, another pick and roll example where he's able to get a catch, but sometimes I will say he kind of relies and thinks that he can, use his athleticism and just dominate. And sometimes maybe at the NBA level, this might be, a really, really bad outcome. In this example, it's going to be a foul, so he kind of got bailed out, but I don't love this shot selection. I'll be completely upfront. I like the screen, as I've said, and good catch, but I don't think you have to immediately go off, two and try to get a dunk. He gets fouled, but it's just a really questionable shot attempt. I'll be completely upfront. What I love with Caleb, and I think a lot of teams can really do this at the NBA level, is something like this, where it's an empty pick and roll, naked, whatever you want to call it, but whatever it may be, you're going away, an empty side, and so as a result, he can open, and this is just going to be a simple lob. If whatever point guard, in this example it's Kion Evans, can get downhill, the big man guarding Caleb Wilson is going to have to step up, and you can't really do anything for a guy that's such a vertical threat. Shooting, the one pretty depressing part is that he's not a great shooter. Obviously, I want to be, optimistic and say he can improve as a shooter with, shooting coaches. But in that example against Cameron Boozer, dare shot, I just don't think that's going to be a great shot attempt. I had to include a make because it's not like he can't make any. He'll make maybe one every five every 4 possessions. Doesn't shoot, great, 27%, I believe. But he can hit a shot like this, simple flush catch and shoot, shot attempt. Nothing, completely out of the realm of, possibilities. Playmaking, I will say, I think UNC coaches developed him pretty well. He has those quick instincts as we see in transition. He's sealing, showing his hands. Obviously not great defense by Notre Dame. No one's picking up Henry Vesar. We've got 2 on Caleb. And so he's got that quick instincts and ability to zip the ball, get Vesar an easy, layup. Isolation. I really think he has great capabilities, especially if it's going to be against bigs. He's got pretty solid vision, as I said in the previous example, with that, quick, instincts. And this example going to be pretty similar against a big loaded side. On the left side, we've got 2 guys setting, a pinch or an exit, whatever you want to call it. And so not great gaps from this defender right here. I think he's a little too low. You probably should be a little bit higher. And so as a result, Caleb Wilson gets downhill. They're going to try to slowly gap, but it's too much space. And so Caleb Wilson has that vision to read and get a great shot for Luka Bogovic. We see a little under out of bounds example in isolation. He loves that jab and then going in the opposite direction. And Caleb Wilson is just such a physical player where he gets that jab getting downhill where teams are going to try to, stop him, and he's able to score through contact, get an and one. And it's just so difficult to, guard him. We see right here against another really, really tall defender, Yigitoglu. Sometimes, Caleb, I'll be up front. You just need to be a little bit more patient. I am aware there's 6 seconds left, and so he kind of had to, try to go downhill and have, a bad shot attempt. But I'm hoping it's not a consistent issue when there's more, shot time on the shot clock. And I know I mentioned it a couple times, I think in the Ohio State example, and then obviously in the offensive weakness section, but it's just something weird with him. I don't know whether it's he's got too big of a shoe size, whatever it may be, but there's a couple times where in isolation tries to go downhill and just will lose his footing and get a turnover. There are about a couple of them, a plethora of them, I'll be completely upfront. But if Caleb Wilson is just simply able to get into, a flow mid-range jumper. I know, I'll be honest, I don't love the mid-range shot, but for a guy that's so talented at such a young age, he's not even going to be 20 years old when he gets drafted. He's able to get into, actions like this where he's able to just flow into some post action, get into his spot and get a perfect swish. It just happens pretty much every single possession, and it's just abnormal to see. Sometimes they will be up front. I like that shot attempt before, but a shot like this where it's, a hezzy pull-up, I'm not a fan of this whatsoever. So I think he just needs to clean up some of, his shot attempts. I like the, post work into, a fadeaway, but nothing like that previous example against Stanford. I'm going to end this with two quick attacking closeout situation examples. Right here we see he's getting guarded by Duke, specifically Cameron Boozer. I'll be up front. Cameron Boozer, not the most athletically gifted defender. So Caleb Wilson is simply able to get a snap drive, step through, go through Patrick Ngangba, around the rim, solid finish. And then this last possession, Abuka Okorie tries to gamble, and unfortunately, both NBA prospects don't do a great job on this example one. Abuka tries to gamble, don't love it. As I addressed in my previous video, I highly suggest you watch it, my apologies. And then Caleb just doesn't do a great job capitalizing on the gamble. Clearly, Abuka is out of the play, and we've got a guy like Caleb that's so athletically gifted. I don't think you need to pick up the ball at the nail. This guy is, stepping up, and so really you could try to make a read where you could kick out, or just, again, you're athletically gifted, keep your dribble alive and try to, finish around the rim. I don't think you have to settle for, a pretty bad, floater shot attempt. People consistently address how impressive Caleb Wilson is, and I completely agree. Defense, though, it's even more, exciting. I'll be completely honest. Although he might not be an elite defender currently, he has all of the, intangibles and size to succeed defensively and be an incredible defender. And I'll address in three specific defensive strengths. First, he's got elite length, a 7-foot wingspan, and capability to be a low man, help and rotate vertical, but also just simply gets, easy contests because of that elite length. Secondly, as I've said, freak athlete. He's a freak athlete on the defensive end as well. He's got a great closeout launch, and so if he's a little bit late in gaps and he's returning to his man, he does have that ability where he's got a ridiculous closeout launch and can get that, Zion Williamson-esque, impressive block. Lastly, I think he can guard the ball relatively well, specifically against forwards. He was in the 74th percentile in isolation defense, so nothing ridiculous, but can stand his ground guarding, 4s or 5s. A couple defensive weaknesses, I'll be completely honest, off of the ball. Sometimes he'll lose his man. I don't know what his deal is, but he'll just, simply, lose it. And that's something you can definitely work on, and it's pretty fixable. Fingers crossed if he's able to develop that defensive IQ just a tad. Secondly, I think he needs to be more physical in the post, and that obviously is going to be connected to the fact that he has that slimmer build, and so he doesn't have ridiculous physicality, and so when he's guarding true 5s, whatever it may be, sometimes he may struggle a tad. And, thirdly, some questionable pick and roll screen navigation. I don't know if that's just on Hubert Davis and how they guarded pick and roll, whatever it may be. Caleb Wilson doesn't do a great job there. And then lastly, again, kind of just the little things defensively on the defensive end that, irk me a bit is that sometimes he's just not a great verbal communicator. Again, I don't know if that's on the teaching point of Hubert Davis, but just a few things off of the ball that he struggles with. So we're going to jump in right into post defense and something that I think he does need to improve more because of his size. We see right here, he kind of overcommits on his shade. If he's going to be like this, I think he needs to be a step or more to his right or left. And so as a result, it can be an easy spin by pretty much anyone, getting guarded by Caleb. And so we don't want a full overcommit. We see right here, again, a little bit, and he's not low. And so we see, knees really aren't bent, pretty much straight. And so for a heavier 7'1", whoever it may be, really, really big defender, he's not, capable of being physical enough where he can, puff his chest. It's really weird. Like his knees aren't bent here. And then later on, he's like fully, commit and just off balance. And so that's an easy spin for pretty much any capable post defender. I'm going to show another example. Again, this one, again, against Kentucky, just not low, but I will say has a good contest with that elite length. Hopefully he's able to gain a little bit more muscle mass where he's able to, stand his ground, and then on top of that, have that elite contest for whoever he's going to be guarding. Pick and roll defense, as I said, I'll be up front, not great navigation. We'll see right here. He goes under, and I know Ernest Udeh kind of, doesn't set the screen, and so you might complain that. But if you're going to be going under, I want you to be going under a little bit more, shiftier and quicker. Sorry. And so as a result, if you're going under, especially just going under in general on a pick and roll, I don't love. I think maybe that's what they were doing with, pick and roll situations with Caleb and Vassar, whatever it may be, but don't love that, example. Again, another example of, going under. Again, this is similar, again, Henry Vassar and Caleb Wilson. So maybe they go under on the first example and then try to go over, but he tries to fight through the second, rescreen, and unfortunately gets clipped a little bit. But that elite length, forces an uncomfortable shot where it's going to be, off the dribble. The shooter's not going to be, stand still, because Caleb Wilson offers that elite length where he's able to get a closeout pretty much every single time, hopefully. Although this is not a great switch, and this is kind of, attributed to the, communication in between Caleb Wilson and Seth Trimble, I think Caleb does do a good job. We see right here, all of his momentum is going towards the, right side of the court. And so he does a good job at popping back and then trying to have, a simple body between him and the basket and Shelton Henderson. And so as a result, solid body between vertical hands and, gets a block attempt. This is going to be my last example of pick and roll defense. This one, he fights through the screen. Again, it's another, 4 and 5 in pick and roll. And so this example, in my opinion, I like him more just simply fighting through the screen. Although you might get clipped in it, and again, pretty, high quality screen. All I want, you've got that capability where you've got that length. I think you just need to simply, fight through the screen. Don't fall for the pump fake, and good things will happen for a guy that really can develop into an elite, defender. I think he is, considered an elite defender in some examples because he offers this, highlight nature. And I don't want to take that away from Caleb Wilson, but not everything is about the highlights. He does do a good job at getting a quick swipe and then obviously converting that into an athletic, transition dunk. But Sometimes you just need to, just stay in front. And this example, not a great path guarding the ball. And so it's just the little things where I think he can develop into a really, really good defender because he has, just the gifted athleticism and build. But you're just going to need to be, honestly, more in a stance, more knees bent, and then,
Lucas.
right here, like we see going in slow motion, he's crossing his, legs. We see right here, this is not a stance. And so as a result, you see that you're getting guarded by a guy crossing his legs. You can, just accelerate and then get to the rim pretty much with ease. This is going to be, again, another example on the ball. This one is going to be more of, him being in a stance. If you stay low, he's got that length where he's going to bother pretty much anyone. This example, it's Chauncey Wiggins, another big. And so if you just stay low and then hopefully gain a little bit more muscle mass, this is gonna happen at a more consistent level. He's got that verticality where he's gonna cause a ton of problems. But I will say, against guards, this one against Nate Calmese out of Wake Forest, they switch, and so sometimes he's gonna be just beat by these shiftier guards. There's a lot of guards even shiftier than a guy like Nate Calmese, especially at the NBA level. And so it's just something to note where you need to just play a little bit back, if you're not going to be in a stance. I will say on the ball though, I like it. I like the fact that he, doesn't have to stay up incredibly high. You can stay right at the 3-point line. And then if someone is going to, dare to shoot on you, Caleb has that verticality where you're going to be, paying for that bad shot attempt. Off of the ball, I addressed it a couple times. This one, it's just the fact that he's not up the floor. And then as a result, tries to close out and then just a bad, shot selection. I will say, obviously, this guy right here is really high up the floor, and so Caleb doesn't have to be, right at the 3-point, line. But I will say, at least maybe be in a stance and maybe just have your body in between the ball. And so as a result, this guy, shooting a, deep 3-pointer with 5 seconds left. And then since he's so far behind and not up the floor, it's going to be a bad closeout. And then that's an and 1 3. Give up 4 points. Not what you want to see at any level. Off the ball, again, I don't know if it's bad communication or whatever it may be, but Wake Forest is getting some simple get action where you throw it to a big man and then ask for the ball back. And for some reason, Caleb has just forgotten that he's guarding Nate Calmese. He's literally guarding him right now in a stance, and then right as he passes it to Cooper Schwieger, he just completely loses his man. And that's something that happens a little bit too often. And then a guy that's a pretty solid 3-point shooter, you don't want to give that up. We see right here, he's not really up the floor and just kind of just loses his man frequently. And it's going to consistently give up some, pretty free 3-point attempts if he does this at a consistent level. All I want you to do after you swipe at the ball and your man, drifts away a little bit, just have your chest between, your man and the guy with the ball, so you can quickly gap. But this is just not what you like to see, giving a free 3-pointer up. And then just bad communication. We see right here, he's talking to Jaren Stevenson. Neither of them know who they're guarding. It's just bad communication. Caleb's pointing to Jaren, you got to guard him. And Jaren's like, no, he's pushing Caleb to guard him. And so that's a free 3-pointer for pretty much any NBA level shooter. Help defense. I think he's got the lateral quickness and he's just so athletically gifted. He is able to do both, but it comes down to where you're positioned. He's a little bit too low right here. And so we need you to be in a good stance and then maybe quickly swipe as whoever's, spinning, trying to get to the rim, he just overcommits, and then Chauncey Wiggins is able to drift to the corner, hit a 3-point attempt. 3 final examples. This is going to be against closeout, and just I love the launch that Caleb Wilson has. Obviously, it might not work out fully if the offensive player reads that pump fakes and then attacks the closeout. But for the scenarios like this where he might be a little bit too low, he's got that quick burst ability to get a contest. We'll see Caleb Wilson right here at the bottom of our screen, and unfortunately sometimes he's gonna jump a little too much. I know there's 10 seconds left into the first half, and so falls for a fake, and then just a little bit undisciplined on multiple efforts, but at least he has that high quality length where he can not be completely hurt by someone compared to maybe a 6'5" or 6'6" forward who might be a little bit more undisciplined. Finally, my last example, I think Caleb Wilson does a really, really good job at popping back. We see right here, tries to close out, solid pop back, and then recovers. You might call it a foul, up to interpretation. If you're a UNC fan, you're happy that it's not a foul, but he is able to, recover and, get some impressive vertical, blocks, if we call this a block. Caleb Wilson, in my eyes, is currently my favorite prospect, and it's for a variety of reasons. I know there might be, more pure scorers like AJ Debonsa or Darren Peterson, but I truly don't think you're going to have a mix of just, such a high ceiling with a guy that currently is already just a pure hooper. I know every single draft you're going to have guys like an AJ Debonsa, but you're never going to see a guy again like Caleb Wilson. He's built ridiculous. He's got incredible length, incredible athleticism, and a guy that has all of those capabilities in a 6'10" forward is just insane. And then he's also, whether it's in isolation or in pick and roll, whatever it may be, he just is such a shifty guy. I don't know how he's allowed to move like he does. NBA teams, in my eyes, that I've kind of seen, there has been a trend analytically to just consistently shoot threes, but they're slowly, moving back to being post-friendly, not obviously post-centric, but being open to shots that Caleb Wilson does, take. And I think that is optimistic for Caleb since he's so elite, in that mid-range post area of the court. Obviously deadly around that range, and I'd be, more than willing, last shot attempt of the game, subbing Caleb Wilson in and then allowing him to get, a mid-range shot, have that high release, create some, danger for whoever is guarding him. Obviously, on the defensive end, he needs to develop a little bit, but I don't think the capability and possibility of him being a future All-NBA player is out of the realm. I think he truly is the most impressive player in this entire draft. So I will say thank you all so much for watching another episode of the Rim Review. If you have any questions on the analysis or suggestions on players you want me to watch, just let me know down below. And then until next time, see you all later.